It is okay not to have 1 million followers.
A lot of people think that like PR is about being seen, but you say it's about being strategically seen. PR is not even it's not even optional. Why do you believe that PR is not optional?
It's a cost, but as Bill Gates said, if it was the last dollar that he had, he would spend it on PR. Because if no one knows that your product exists, it just doesn't. You're creating something that's great for you, but the world won't know.
This might be controversial or not, but Diddy, with all of the things that is going on in the media, if you was his PR person, he comes home, what are you telling him to do?
We're going to run it up again.
Yeah. What's the fine line between authenticity and doing what's right for the business?
Stop comparing yourself to everything you see on social media, because most of that is a facade, and just do what's good for you.
Wait. I know you want to watch this next video, but listen, if you are an entrepreneur, business coach, business consultant, or a small business owner who has a story and wants to learn how to create multiple streams of income from your story, I need you to text me right now, my book, to 646-687-4152. That is my personal number. I have been an author for over 12 years. I've written 10 books. 4 of them have been bestsellers, and I've sold over 100,000 books. But I've also helped a lot of my clients take their expertise and put it into a story, then create multiple streams of income from that. So I want to help you do the same thing. So text my book to 646-687-4152. All right, let's go back to the video. All right, so welcome to another awesome episode of Inside the Vault with Ash Cash, the greatest money mindset show on the planet. Today, Inside the Vault, we're unlocking a different kind of currency, the kind that money cannot buy, but every millionaire, mogul, and movement needs. This is public perception. Because no matter how great your business is, if nobody knows you, trusts you, or talks about you in the right way, you're invisible. And today, we're talking to the woman who helps brands, entrepreneurs, and public figures become unforgettable. We have the Ebony Porter Ike. She is the president of the EPI Media Group, one of the nation's most respected public relations and brand strategy firms. She's the visionary behind Coinology, the podcast, and she's earned the title of the Certified Deal Closer for a reason. For decades, she's been behind the scenes shaping narratives, managing crises, and building empires, helping her clients not only be seen, but be celebrated. From reputation and management to media mastery, Ebony has guided some of the most influential names in business, entertainment, and leadership. But here's what makes this conversation special. Ebony isn't just a PR strategist. She's also the person that I trust to manage and guide many of my book coaching clients through the process of launching, branding, and positioning their book the right way. Because here's the truth. Writing a book is easy, but turning that book into a brand and a business and a lasting legacy, that takes strategy. And Ebony Porter Ike is that strategy. Family, I need y'all to put your hands together. Round of applause. Make all the noise that you can for the Ebony Porter Ike.
Oh my goodness, I love that energy. I love it.
I think it's important, because I want my audience to know, first and foremost, how much of a powerhouse you are, right? But then also, I need them to understand, this is not one of those interviews that you want to skip over, that you don't, I don't want you doing anything else. I need you to pay attention, because I don't think people give respect to what you do and your I think people look at it like a vanity thing, and they don't understand that what you do is literally the lifeblood of business. If you want to be If you want to be at the top of your game, what you do is the lifeblood of business. Any business that I know that has gone on to do major things, they have a PR partner
Mhm.
that helps them get to that next level. So I'm excited to have this conversation. But before we even get there, before we even start, in your words, who is Ebony Porter Ike?
Well, first of all, Ash, thank you for having me here. It's an honor. And it's Ebony Porter Ike. Yes, that's okay. It has a Nigerian, it's a Nigerian last name. So most people say Ike, but it's Ike. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm a business owner. I'm a business strategist. And I am a servant. I am really big on how do I serve other people, Ash. And at the end of the day, I'm an entrepreneur, business mogul, things of that nature. So that's who I am.
So let's start with like PR, right? A lot of people, like I said earlier, like a lot of people feel like it's a luxury, but you and I know that PR is not even it's not even optional, right? Why do you believe that PR is not optional anymore?
Well, this is the thing. You said it earlier on. You can have the best idea. It can be great. You can be phenomenal. You can have the best product, but if nobody knows that it exists, it doesn't exist. So it's important for your brand to get as much elevation as possible. And it's also important that someone shapes the message for you. Someone shapes it for you and not you yourself, because the reality is people just don't respect if you call in yourself and say, hey, I'm the greatest that ever did it. You just don't get that level of respect. The other thing is it's important too to have someone on the outside help you craft your message. It's really difficult for you to craft your own thing. I don't care how great you are. Just like we always say, every great player has a coach, right? So I look at PR from a perspective of coaching PR entrepreneurs and business leaders as well.
And so why do you think that people look at it as a luxury? Like why don't people see it as like mandatory?
It's because of the cost. It's expensive to get the right type of PR strategy or development around you. So it's a cost. But as Bill Gates said, if it was the last dollar that he had, he would spend it on PR. Because if no one knows that your product exists, it just doesn't. You're creating something that's great for you, but the world won't know. So many people just don't understand. Now, what I will say is this. Every business is not necessarily ready for PR, because you have to be able to build yourself up to a certain point where you can sustain the cost of public relations, right? If you can't sustain it, you are wasting your money. I get so many calls, Ash, of people telling me, I'm saving my money, I'm saving my money, I'm saving my money so I can get that first retainer. But if all you can afford is that one retainer, I won't accept it. Because the reality of it is, PR is like a snowball. It starts small and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger as it continues to go. And every time you stop, it melts and you have to start back over again. So I don't want my clients, I don't want people that I know wasting their money. I want you to be consistent so that you get the best results from your investment.
Yeah, that's good. And a lot of people think that like PR is about being seen, but you say it's about being strategically seen. What's the difference?
For me, it's about being strategically seen. So I will say all PR people or publicists are not the same. We're not all equal. For me, I am a strategist, which means I don't just go after getting you on radio, TV, and blogs and just throw things to see what sticks. I am strategically developing a campaign that's going to elevate and expand the brand. And so when you're doing that, you're being strategic. So every opportunity you're not going to take. And at certain times you're going to take certain opportunities. For instance, if the Today Show called today and wanted to have you on, but you didn't have anything to sell, promote, or to get out there, what would be the point of going on the Today Show? That's straight vanity. And your publicist would advise you to go on there only because you just want to be on the Today Show. But a strategist would say, this may not be the right time for it, or to help you structure a product or service that you would have. So when you go on a Today's show, it makes the most sense for you to do it. Yeah. So you just have to be wise. Vanity is if the only purpose of having PR is to be on the red carpet and take pictures for your social media. That's not the best use of your money. Yeah. And that's not what public relations really is.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that, a lot of, and I've seen this a lot too, a lot of entrepreneurs who make a lot of money, they will pay to be seen. Mm-hmm. And, but financially it doesn't make sense. I'm like, why are you paying X amount of money just to get this look when, like you said, you could create a product, service, or something like you like make it purposeful. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times is that scarcity mentality where they're like, oh, well, if the Today Show is calling right now, then I better take this opportunity, because when will they call again? Well, how do you position people so that they, are constantly, like a Today Show is not just like a one-off, mm-hmm. Opportunity for them.
Value. You have to add value. One of the key things, is that you have to be able to address the headlines. Mm-hmm. Your publicist, your strategist should know what is important today. What is it that the media cares the most about? And they should be able to structure you and your campaign and your offerings to meet the needs of the media. Mm-hmm. If you constantly stay at the foot of what the media needs are, you will constantly get those calls. Mm-hmm. Those are the people who are the commentators. Those are the people who get the calls repeatedly. Those are the people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love it. So you've helped build and protect brands through some of the toughest situations. Mm-hmm. What would you say is the biggest mistake you see entrepreneurs and public figures make when it comes to their image or reputation?
Moving too fast. Speaking out of turn, or taking on opportunities without proper counsel. Again, being too eager for something and not really fully thinking it through can come back to bite you later.
Yeah. It like what's the fine line though between authenticity and doing, what's in the best nature of your business, right? Because for myself, like as a financial educator, I never really wanted to be a public figure. I was just wanting to impact the world, if you will. But when when the world shifted, I guess, where mm-hmm. It wasn't just mainstream television, a lot of like podcasters and influencers or whatever became public figures. Sometimes it's like I'm afraid to be myself, right? Because I'm human, so sometimes there might be things I do that the world might not like agree with, if you will. I'm not crazy, but just still, there's, I might curse every now and then. I don't know, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, but I feel like we live in a culture where it's like, I guess, cancel culture. Like the culture wants you to be like perfect, and sometimes like you're producing a perfect self when that's not really you. So what's the fine line between authenticity and doing what's right for the business?
So when you become a public figure, everything has to have counsel. Because one of the things about your public perception, it may not really truly be who Ash is 110%, but it is in essence what's important to grow the business, right? The core of it should be important to meet who you are. Yeah. But many of the public figures that you see, that is not really who they are. Totality is a business. And it is a persona that they have. When you are a public figure, I can't stress this, or you own a business, you cannot just go out on social media because you get bored and say what you want to say because it feels good. For instance, I'll give a great example of, we see our good sister Tabitha Brown, right? Without proper counsel, because a person like me would point out, these are your risks. If you say this, this is what could potentially happen. Now, you may make the decision and say, guess what? I'm willing to take that risk and move forward. But you want to be made aware, and you want to make decisions knowing fully where of what can happen from that.
Yeah.
So when you become a public figure, there's no if, there's no ands, there's no buts about it. When you have a multi-million-dollar business, you cannot go before social media without proper counsel.
Yeah.
It is a risk.
So let's talk a little bit about like Coinology, right? So you created Coinology, which connects money, media, and mindset. Can you break down how these three things tie together when it comes to building wealth?
Yeah, so for me, when I studied making money, I figured out that the key to making it is finding your pain. When you unveil the pain in your story and you dig deep into that, that is where your millions hide, right? And being able to tell that story authentically, being truthful about it, and then finding a way to serve, that is where you make your money. So when I created Coinology, I created a series of books, and then I have a speaking segment that I go around the country speaking on. But then again, COVID hit, right? And so when COVID came, the speaking stopped for a while, and then came the podcast. So the podcast was birthed because many of the people said, I still want to hear, because Ash, with me doing what I do, I have the opportunity to meet with some of the brightest minds in the world. You and I talked about some of the people that I represent are considered once in a lifetime legends.
1000%. Yeah.
And most people don't have the opportunity to learn and sit at their feet. And so I wanted to give people the opportunity to still be able to do that. So I created Coinology off of the premise of W.E.B. Du Bois. The talented 10th, right?
Yep.
And I just changed it to fit 2025, where I say the talented 10th today, it doesn't require you to have a degree. It doesn't require you to be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher. It requires you to have a certain mindset. So I invite who I consider is the talented 10th of today, the top within their industry. And they come into Coinology, and they are very transparent about that moment in their life that transitioned them. What was that moment? And if you can't be transparent about that moment that made you Ash, then you wouldn't be a good candidate for the show.
Sure.
Because my goal is to show the world that successful people are just like you.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
They bleed, they cry, they hurt. And most times the decisions that successful people make are 99% different than what everybody else makes.
For sure.
And so it allows you to kind of explain why you made that decision, and for people to study the DNA of success.
Yeah, it's funny because I think that a lot of people don't realize that majority of successful people have failed more than they've succeeded. But the truth of the matter is that, a lot of successful people are not smart enough to know when to give up. I think that's the one thing. It's like, you gotta be some level of crazy, or some level of passion, or some level of like, all right, it don't look like it's gonna work out, but I'm being called to do this, so I'm
never stop.
still go.
You never stop.
How do you? And I'm seeing this a lot with, we see this with celebrities, we see this with, people who go through sort of like public, like the ups and downs of life, right? So like prime example for me, man, I've been through ups and downs as an entrepreneur. Like there's a lot of failure that came with it. It's fine, because at the end of the day, the embarrassment is only, focused on maybe my friend. I mean, I gotta explain to my friends and family. But when you become a public figure, like, feeling out in the open is like really, really tough. Like, imagine, like, I thank God that everything is fine. Like, there's nothing going on. But I couldn't imagine, failing in the public when people are, especially now, like, it feel like people are, they love to share your downfall. How would you say entrepreneurs should prepare for that, or what are some ways to kind of like not allow that to affect you, especially as you're trying to climb back up?
So one of the things, all publicists aren't crisis managers, right? So there's publicity, and then there's crisis management. It just so happens that I am a crisis manager. I'm one of the top crisis managers in the country. So I tend to work on some of the most difficult cases that you've probably seen and probably know and heard of. Typically, I'm behind there orchestrating that. And what I would say is it's important, again, for a entrepreneur, business owner, influencer, person of interest to have certain people in their back pocket. We know, of course, you have to have a coach. You have to have your accountant. You have to have your attorney. You have to have a publicist, and you need to have a crisis manager. The reality of it is when you are successful, there's always somebody trying to take that success from you, whether it's because you did something wrong or not. So you have to operate. You need to have someone always operating on your best interest in that case, to be a successful person and not have your finger or phone on ready on speed dial. Ash, you got my number on speed dial. I get calls every day, all times of the day, with sometimes just, hey, I need to run something by you. Right. And that's the point of having those type of relationships. So that I can say, look, you need to steer clear of that. Watch out. If you do this is the things that you need to have. And then if something were to happen, you need to have that person that you can call at 12 midnight and be able to convene. That's important.
Yeah, I love that. What would you say, like in your experience, how does like media visibility translate into like financial success?
So I tell people, I'm glad you asked that. Just wanting to be seen is a big mistake, right? Or if you have a product and then you're being seen, but your call to action isn't strong, you have a problem. The reality of it is you need to know how to transition being seen into actual sales. If you are struggling in that area, then that's what you need to talk with your publicist about, right? Or your marketing expert. But the reality of it is, every time you are before someone, you should be having a very strong call to action, even if it's not a sale from the stage or a sale from the. You need to be transitioning that over to a deal. Period. And if you are struggling in that area, you need to get help, or you need to quit being an entrepreneur and go back and find a 9-to-5. You can't survive out here without being strong in that area.
Yeah. Nah. And that's the thing though, because I've heard like nightmare stories of like entrepreneurs who, like you said, just wanted to be seen, but didn't really have like a good financial business model behind what they were doing, and complain about everything except their business model, right? Which is true, because I think like for me, like even as an author, I've written so many books, but every time I go, like I do radio, I do television, every time I do those things, my sales go up. And my sales don't go up because I'm like, hey, look at me. It's like, even in the way I answer questions, I'm like, if somebody asks me a question, I'll say, yeah, I wrote a book called, what the FICO, 12 steps to repair your credit. And in that book, I give you the 5 steps of how to fix your credit. Here are those 5 steps, something along those lines. So like subliminally, I'm like answering a question and also giving you like a call to action. What is the, like how do you should entrepreneurs go through like media training? Like
Yes,
how
definitely.
do you get to that point?
So first of all, I wanted to say the other reason why your sales go up is because you served. In entrepreneurship, running a business, the people watching you have to feel that you care about them.
Absolutely.
So my job is to make you likable, approachable. Some of the people, everybody's not likable. Everybody's not, but my job is to make you feel and seem that way. People buy from people that they like, that they relate to, that they feel like they know. One of the most important things about PR, Ash, is the relatability. If people feel like they relate to you and they understand you and that you are just like them, they want to support you. Great example. Beyoncé has always been Beyoncé. But Beyonce's numbers went through the roof when Lemonade came out
Yeah.
because everybody was like, "Oh, she's not perfect.
Right.
She's going through the same things that I'm going through." Relatability is key.
Yeah.
So when you go on these shows and you do these interviews and you're likable, you're relatable, and you're serving them, you're providing them information, and you're not always saying, "Oh, the only way you can get this is dial in from 199 and da 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 da."
Yeah.
You know, people like that, and that's important.
Yeah, I think, and I could attest to that because I feel like for me, um, my brand started to grow when I really try to just be myself
Mm-hmm.
and just serve and just, again, like I'm never trying to look perfect. Um, being transparent. Like I think that's the thing. When you look like you're trying to hide something or you're being inauthentic, people could read right through that. But when you're like at that space where you're like, all right, I'm gonna be transparent and I'm gonna show people the real me so you can learn from the lessons. I think people appreciate that. And I think my brand had built from that. You've worked behind the scenes with some big names, right?
Mm-hmm.
Without naming names, what are a few key lessons you've learned from watching, top tier entrepreneurs handle fame, and visibility, whether it's the right or the wrong way?
Um, One is acting fast, right? But having a good team around them. Typically, when opportunities come, you can't hem and haw around it. You got to know. You got to be well versed enough in your area, which means mastery is important. The people that I've worked with that are considered legends in my lane of work, they are masters at what they do. They may be good at other things, but you know specifically what it is that they're known for. For instance, if someone were to say, "What is Ash Cash known for?" You're right. Um, of course, now I'm publishing books, but before that, of course, you're the money man, right? Clearly. But the problem is there's a lot of people today on Instagram that you ask, what is it that they do? You really can't say. They're just popular. That doesn't have longevity. So one of the things I would challenge you as a business owner or whomever it is that's watching this episode, what is it that you are known for? That's one of the first things I ask people when they come into my office for their first meeting is, what is it that you want people to know you for? If you can't explicitly say, I want to be this, and no, this multi-hyphenate stuff, I don't subscribe to that because people need to know that you are a master at something.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's when they're going to trust you. There was a time, Ash, during the pandemic where people didn't have to have as much trust and people that considered themselves as experts. So a lot of people made a lot of money and didn't know what the heck they were talking about, right?
Yeah.
But today, it's a different world.
Yeah.
People are really tight with their spend, and they are doing a lot more background checks on who they're working with. And I say become a master at what you do.
Yeah. No, I love that. So let's talk about books, right? Like that's my favorite topic. You've written books, you've represent a lot of people who've written books. And so we both believe that, books are one of the most powerful tools as an entrepreneur can have. From your perspective as a PR strategist, why is a book still the ultimate credibility?
Ultimate. One of the things I tell people, the first thing I say when they come into my office is, do you have a book? One, people need to know your story because most of the times if they're coming into my office, they've reached a certain level of success. I mean, just be honest with you, by the time they've made it to EPI Media Group. But secondly, if you want me to book you for speaking engagements and appearances and so forth, you need to monetize that because the reality of it is every speaking engagement is not going to be paid. And you should not turn down every speaking engagement because it's not paid. Really, realistically speaking, you need those opportunities for people to get to know you, see you, and feel you and understand the brand. But the book allows your new fan base or people, the followers, to have something to take home with them. When people meet you and they see you and they are intrigued by you, they want to take a little bit of you back home. And, the truth is, Ash, people are emotional buyers, right? So while they're there, they're hearing your story, they're excited about your journey, they want to support you, right? And so why not have a book? The worst thing to do is to go to a speaking engagement, not be paid for the engagement, get a couple of pictures for social media, and go home.
Right.
That was a waste.
Right.
You need to have had something that they could have purchased and learned more about you and something to take home. So, yeah, I'm really big on having a book.
Yeah, no, I love that. And so let's talk about launching a book the right way, right? What are the essential PR moves every author needs to make before, during, and after their book drops?
Well, first of all, you need to have some decent headshots.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen this, Ash. People will try to put their bio on the back of the book with a selfie.
Yeah.
Get some professional shots. We also need to have a professional bio written, right? So that people know who you are. Start working on EPKs. It's important for you really to start building out whatever your book topic is going to be on your social sites. So most people think that once their book drops, that's the time to start promoting.
Yeah.
No, you can't. It's difficult.
Please say that again for the people in the back.
Can't start then. You need to be building up your expertise and your mastery well before the book drops, so that when the book drops, you already have a warm audience ready to buy and devour what it is that you have in that book. So I would say at least a quarter before you're about to drop your book, you need to start being aggressive about your messaging on social media, and you need to be consistent. And then you start to talk about your book coming. And once you talk about your book, I think one of the things that's important when you work with someone like Ash is to make sure that your book is available in multiple distribution outlets. One of the mistakes I've seen some people do, they may just have a book and it's just on Kindle. No slide on that, but I can't get you in Barnes and Noble. I can't get you at Borders and Books A Million if you're not in the system. So you need to work with a publishing company that can do that and help you and guide you. But then once your book is about to launch, it's important for you to start working on press runs, start aligning with organizations that are aligned with whatever the topic of your book is, because sometimes those organizations would do bulk purchases and things of that nature. Start looking for conferences and events that you can start vending and having your book available, and start looking at what that launch is going to look like. Realistically speaking, Ash, people think that their book launch is going to look like Cardi B's launch down at the, with 100 people waiting in line. And that's just not the way it is. You need to really be strategic and realistic about what your launch is going to look like.
Right. No, I love that, because I think that, but you said a lot that I want to unpack, because like, I feel like, again, people think like those who understand the power of books and credibility, they feel like once they write a book, that automatically that gives them the credibility. But like you said earlier, if nobody knows you, then it doesn't even matter. But then also, just coming out and saying you're author doesn't give you the credibility. Like, you have to give value. You have to give people a reason to want to even buy your book.
That's right.
And so people think that, all right, I'm gonna wait till this book is done. I'm gonna launch this book, and then it's gonna, like, I'm gonna become famous off of that. But like, nah. Like, people that you've seen, like, famous authors, right? Most of the people you've seen, they put in work first. They built the demand, and then they supplied it with the actual book.
Became a master.
Exactly.
Of what it is that they do, and then people had a desire to learn more from them.
Yeah. So what advice would you have, right? So let's just say there's somebody out there who, they've already launched their book already, right? But they didn't launch it correctly. What are some things that they can do to like reintroduce it and to like build that credibility again?
You can always have a second release, right? You can have a forward rewritten. You can reshoot your cover. You can add a couple of chapters in the back of the book. So there's ways for you to repackage a book that's already been written that you don't feel received the right amount of glory the first go around. Because the reality of it is, and this is important, people need to think about this. The first 90 days of your book launch are the most important, because after that, it's just not important anymore.
Right, old news.
It's old news.
Yeah. And so you call yourself the certified deal closer. What would you say is the biggest deal you've ever helped the client close, spiritually, financially, or strategically?
I've closed quite a bit of deals.
Yeah.
I think one of the largest deals that I've closed, would I would say would be probably about a $2.5 million brand deal. Um, but I typically close, and I'm just coming off the top of my head from that. But I close large deals like every day, Ash. And one of the things that I am really proud of is like 98% of the deals that come across my desk, small, medium, or large, I'm closing them. And the 2% that I don't close is because they didn't want to close anyway. They came there looksy-loosey, just looking around.
Yeah.
But I'm real confident in understanding the DNA behind deal closing.
Yeah. Is there? Would you say, like, when you look at like the people you represent, brands, things of that nature, um, what's the gap between like the it factor and hard work, right? Meaning, like, when you see the people that you represent, or even just brands in general, can you look at a brand and say, yo, they got the it factor and this is what's making them successful? Or can anybody just work hard and work their way up to the top?
You're born with it. It's a thing, and it's the most frustrating thing for me, Ash, is to see a person or entity that had the it and they refuse to do the work because they just sitting on it. Then I see some others who desire and they just work, and it just won't. It just doesn't connect. It's a connectability, relatability.
Yeah.
It's a it, and everybody can't see it. Ash, I happen to be able to see it, and when I see it, I'm also I have a gift of being able to understand what's required to motivate it, to get it going. And once that person, because many times folks try to use a cookie cutter approach. You can't, in PR, some people say, okay, I take this client, I take them from this. The cookie cutter approach doesn't work for the its, because the its are they're different. They don't operate under the same guise as everybody else. So you have to be able to think like that. The reality, you have to have the it yourself in order to identify it.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of well, I mean, I guess one of the reasons I was asking that question is because I think a lot of times there are people who think that they could buy their way to success, right? Meaning, like, all right, I got money, I'm gonna work my way, I'm gonna buy certain positions, and then don't get to that. They don't get to the level that they thought that they wanted to get to because they don't have sort of like that it factor. And so what, like, for those people who, if they know, right, they're like, all right, I don't have the it factor, for whatever they're doing. Like, what is the, I don't know, what is the pivot for them? Is like where do they go if they've tried to be the face, and it's just not clicking?
A smart business person knows how to remove their emotion, and they're smart enough to say, I don't have it, but I'm going to hire an ambassador. It does.
Yeah.
I'm going to put this person in front to run this particular business. I'm going to make it look like, if you are, arrogance and ego will be the demise of any business.
Yeah.
And so for those who can't step to the side of that, you can't help them.
Yeah.
But a smart business person will know that if they don't have it, I will position this person or this entity to be it.
Yeah. So let's now learn. Let's talk about Ebony Porter Ike, right? Like, what's her story? Where does she start? Like, what makes Ebony Porter Ike Ebony Porter?
I started as the first time somebody asked me what's my story. I'm from Virginia. went through all of the realms of all the degrees and went on to corporate America and went up the ranks of that. But always, Ash, at a very young age, had this drive for entrepreneurship. So I've always had my own businesses, even when I was in corporate and climbing the ladder. And I got to a point where I started questioning, what was life going to be like for me? I've always had this desire, this dream to do the entertainment, the industry type stuff, but I was buttoned up in corporate and going that route because that's what I thought I had to do. And I got to a certain point in my life and I looked back and said, is this going to be it? Right? And one of my mentors said to me, she said, you know what? Why don't you just take a year and try it? And if it doesn't work, guess what? It's another job out there. You can go back out there and get another job. My kids were young and I was traveling more than I was at home. I was very rarely at home with my family. And I made a tough decision. It was hard because I had obtained a certain level of success in corporate that the rest of my family had not achieved. And I felt, Ash, like I was betraying them initially. I was like, my parents sacrificed all of this for me to get to this point, and I'm walking away from it as if it doesn't matter. But when my father told me that he had my back and he was proud of me, it released that level of guilt. Wow. And I went after it, Ash. I went after it. I cut off all of the friends at that time. And I just, and the only reason why I cut the friends off, not that they did anything wrong, I just didn't need to hear about the corporate promotions. I didn't need to hear about, girl, you need to come back. There's a new role open over here. You need to come back. Are you crazy? You're walking away. I didn't need to hear that. I just kept my head down to the ground and I just stayed focused and I mastered the craft. I didn't allow myself to be embarrassed because there was plenty of times to be embarrassed. There were plenty of events where nobody showed up or you didn't get any media or press for that particular, because you start off small, you got to keep building, or the other folks, the other people in PR in the industry aren't accepting or welcome you in because I didn't come from Spelman or Clark. Because in Atlanta, it's a clique.
Okay, yep.
It's a clique. It's a clique in Atlanta, right?
Right.
So, but I kept going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I stayed focused even when the betrayals came. Because the betrayals, if you think that you're going to be in business and you're not going to be stabbed a gazillion and one times, you were crazy, right?
1,000%.
I kept going. When people kept telling me that, that's not going to be for you. You can't do that. That's not. I kept going and kept going and kept mastering and getting better and building relationships and going and going. And that's my story. I just kept going. So when you say you got to be crazy, because I kept going. I kept going when everybody told me to stop.
Yeah. What is your mission? What is your purpose in life? Like why is Ebony here?
My purpose in life is to serve, and I'm really big on that. But I know that it is to help give people a second chance. Even though I'm a publicist, my heart and my passion is in crisis management. I enjoy helping people. I enjoy helping the unheard be heard and helping people have a second chance. I believe that everybody deserves a second chance. And so my job is to not only help you navigate through the difficult times, but also help you bounce back. And so that's my purpose.
Yeah. And I love how, that purpose sort of becomes rewarding, right? Because as you serve, you're now being able to serve and build, a successful business. When you look at like the legacy of, EPI Media Group, what you do, where do you see your company in 5-10 years? What do you want the legacy to be?
I'm proud to say that we're a global conglomerate today. So we represent entities across the globe. So that is important to me. I would like to have our headquarters is here in Truist Park. I would like to probably open a couple of offices, one in LA and one in New York. But my most important outside of the office spaces is leaving a legacy for my children. My son just graduated from Georgia State with a film and media degree, so he works in my production office at the agency. Helping to groom and develop him. My daughter is about to go off to college this year. My goal, what I see for them is I would like to, when I close my eyes, have something to be able to leave for my children.
Yeah.
That's important to me.
Yeah. Did you grow up? Did you grow up like rich? Like what was your like monetary background?
I wasn't rich. I came from a 2-parent household. It was a working class family.
Yeah.
My father worked at the shipyard, and that's in Virginia, if anybody knows about that. And my mom worked as like an accounting clerk and accounting supervisor and so forth. But we weren't rich.
Yeah.
But I didn't want for anything. And I came from a really good family. My father is a great man, and he instilled a lot of what I operate off of today. And my mom taught me how to be a woman.
Yeah.
So I will say, you know how sometimes Ash, you hear people that have this story. That's not my situation. I came from a very blessed home.
For sure. And like, what would you say? Like, what does wealth look like to you?
Wealth looks like to me is 2 things: it's freedom and peace.
That's good.
I often had this conversation with people, and they don't understand that God's gift to us is a peace of mind. And you should utilize the financial gains that you've had to acquire peace and freedom. If you're using it for other things, then you're not really living out the purpose of your life. At the end of the day, you should be able to go to bed every single night, Ash, and close your eyes without having anxiety and stress.
Yeah.
You should be able to wake up in the morning and say, you know what, I need to be in New York next week. I have the freedom to be able to do that. Now, do you care about having $1.2 billion in the bank? Right? I mean, if that's what you acquire,
Right.
But for me, it's about just having peace.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because a peace of mind is something that you can't buy.
1000%. I agree. And I think people want money till they get money. Right. I think that regardless of your background, where you come from, I think that the world has made us believe that money will solve everything. And so we want the money, and we'll damn near kill ourselves for the money. But then when we get the money and realize that wasn't it, that's when we start to like revert and start to look at other things. From a business perspective, if somebody wanted to get into the public relations business, if they wanted to start and learn, how to represent people and then really give others the visibility that they think that they desire, what would be their first step?
The first thing I would say is you should probably intern at an agency. You need to learn. For some reason, we have this adage today that everybody graduates from college and they're immediately a boss.
Right.
Boss of what?
Yeah.
What have you mastered?
Yeah.
See, I'm old school, Ash. I'm all about mastering a craft. You need to go out there and be a master. When you are a master, people are looking for you.
Yeah.
You're not looking for them.
Yeah.
Right? They're looking for you. So I would say intern at an agency, learn the ins and outs of what it is that you like and you don't like. Because I've learned the most from bosses or leaders that I didn't like, I didn't agree with, because I learned the things I didn't want to do, right? Yeah. Volunteer for different events, different opportunities. And then I would say also surround yourself with highly successful people. Once you start to understand and successful people in the industry in which you want to be a PR person for, because there are some publicists that only do fashion. There's some that only do music. There's some that only do faith-based. It just so happens that my agency is diverse. I do it, across industries. But what I would say is surround yourself with the people that you ultimately want to serve. Because when you surround yourself with them, you'll understand what their needs are. Yeah. And when you understand their needs, you can customize your business to meet their needs, and that's how you become overly uber successful. Biggest mistake to have in business, Ash, is creating a product that nobody is looking for. It's something that you want to offer.
Right. Yeah. And I think that's the well. I kind of know why, but like I think that's one of the biggest mistakes. I think people are like I won't say self-centered, but like they'll see a problem or they'll see something that affected them and automatically believe that this is what everybody needs without doing like the proper vetting and the proper understanding and knowing how to how to ask people what they want before you start giving them sort of like the solution, if you will. What's the biggest money mistake that you've made so far as an entrepreneur?
Well, what the biggest one? Because you make mistakes every day.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
I would say biggest money mistake that I made. I would say, okay, scaling, right? EPI Media Group isn't just me. It's a full agency of professionals that work at my agency. And there was a point where the agency was growing super uber fast. And in response to that, I just continued to add headcount. And I recognize that there's a certain spot or certain space where you have to be careful about just growing too fast, because as a leader, you can lose the grip of what's going on in your business. And when you lose the grip of what's going on in your business, you will lose your business. You have to be in your business to know what's going on. And I mean, and I'm not saying that you have to go to work every single day. I just so happen to, but there's a lot of business owners who've opted to take their hands off, but you still need to have some kind of way to know what's going on in your business. Yeah. And so for me, I know for me, I had I hired an operations manager. And she helped me. That was one of the things I will tell business owners that is so important. You need someone in your business that can handle the operations of your business. Absolutely. The staffing, the client complaints or questions, the day in and day out, so that you as a business owner can focus on the mastery of your business, and then your staff can work on the delivery of whatever that is. Not having an operations manager will drain the owner, drain the business. So I think for me, scaling very fast and not having that proper operations person there. But then when I felt like the world was moving, and I was blessed because I was getting all these accounts and this and that, and then I was hiring. I had the hire, but it was like a circus. Right. Ash, I said, what is going on? Yeah. Right? Is this what I signed up for? And then once I got that right person, because it has to be the right person, absolutely, right? You have to trust your operations manager explicitly, right? Because they're basically they can see you naked. Everything. Yeah. They see everything, right? Yeah. So you have to be able to trust them. But once you bring them in and they can help you see, what's going on, what's happening under the covers, what the problems are, I would say operating without one was my biggest mistake. And I was losing money hand over fist. Yeah. And then I, got that in place, and it was the best investment I could have made.
Nice. When you think about the best money, the best thing you've done with money, like what would you say that thing is?
I would say actually moving into an office space. I remember I was in business at that time for 5 years, and I had come to a crossroads where I had become very comfortable growing my business remotely from my basement, right? I had team members, but everybody was remote. Yeah. But I had to make that tough decision to actually go and get a brick and mortar office building. And some people say, well, why are you doing that? That's unnecessary cost. Why this? Da. Several reasons. One, I'm really big on collaboration of the minds. I think that when you put brilliant people under one roof and you're able to duke it out, that's where you get the best work, right? One of the people that's here with me today, Terrence, he and I typically on two separate ends of the stick. But when we go at it and then we get to the middle part, we usually find some type of harmony there. So I think that's number one, the collaboration. The other reason why a business or a brick and mortar was important to me is because I was ready to elevate my client roster. And I could no longer meet Netflix or CBS or whomever at Starbucks, right? I had ran my course. Would meet me at Starbucks at the corner at the right side of da-da-da-da, right? Most people, when you get to a certain point, they want to know that if I'm doing business with you and I'm doing big business, multi-million-dollar business, I need to know that I can find you so that if something goes wrong, I know where you're located. If you don't have that sense of location and so forth, and I will tell you, the moment that I invested into my business and got a brick and mortar office, my client roster went through the roof. I don't know if it was just the confidence. But my business went through the roof, and some people kept saying that's just money that you could be. That it was the best money spent for me.
That was God saying, "Hey, because you were faithful and you trusted this vision I gave you, and you were willing to invest in yourself. Here's the reward to that." What part does faith play into your success?
Oh my goodness, faith is everything for me. Ash, in order to be an entrepreneur, you have to have a certain level of faith, whether you know it or not.
That's a fact.
Even people who call themselves atheists operate off, and they're an entrepreneur, they operate off of some level of faith. Because you're getting up every single day and you have no earthly idea where the next thing is coming from. And if you don't have a certain level of faith, you're going to lose your mind from fear, from scarcity, from betrayal, from drama. You have to know at the end of the day, Ash, I know in my heart that it's going to work out. But I also start my day every morning. I start my morning off with meditation and Peloton. I do Peloton in the morning and I meditate and pray, and then I get my day going. And so it's very important to me.
You said earlier that everyone is not sort of like ready for PR. If somebody's watching right now and they're trying to get to that level, right? What advice would you give them? What should they be working on right now to get them to that level where they can work with an EPI Media Group?
Consistency. I think the biggest thing is stop allowing your business to be a hobby or afterthought, and just, remain consistent. Once you get your revenue to a consistent space where you can comfortably pay that retainer on a monthly basis, that's when you're ready for a PR company. You don't want to make that payment and stress and then also second guess your practitioner. The worst thing in the world for me, Ash, is for someone to pay a retainer and then call me the next. What have you done? Man, if you hire me, you should know that I'm the best person for the job and allow me to do the job. So that's what I would say. I would say just continue to be consistent to build to the point where you can comfortably play the retainer. So what you would do is start reaching out to the PR companies that you are interested in working with. Find out what their retainers are, and then also find out what they require to get started. Every PR company is different. There's some PR companies that won't work with you unless you've already appeared in 4 major magazines, and you had to be this and you have to be that, and your name has to garner. I just so happen to specialize in development. I like working with the unknown, the underdog. I love developing. Like I told you before, my thing is serving and giving a voice for the voiceless. So I can work with someone who comes to me with nothing, but they need to have a great concept of a product or service. I can't make you into a star if you have nothing. I can't.
This might be controversial or not, but Diddy. We recently saw that he was, convicted, 50 months in jail, about 4 years. We don't know how long he'll do. But if with all of the things that is going on in the media, the things that he was convicted of, the things that people are suing him for, if you was his PR person, he comes home, what are you telling him to do?
We're gonna do it all. We're gonna run it up again.
Yeah.
Most people that I talk to would always say they wouldn't even touch the Diddy case, right? I'm probably one of the few that would. Again, I believe that everybody deserves a second chance, and I also believe that there's a development that needs to happen. Now, I think to expect a person like Diddy to come home and just wither away is not realistic.
Yeah. Okay.
But how do you turn your test into a testimony? How do you go out here now and talk to these young music moguls and tell them and show them how to watch out for this or that, right? Even if you don't agree with the time that he got or whatever the case may be, the justice system.
Right.
If you want to talk about mental health and abuse, if you want to talk about drug abuse, like what can you do now to go back and serve the community that made you a billionaire? And so many of those people have been disappointed.
Yeah.
How do you go back and help heal the broken heart? I will tell you, Ash, there's so many people from that grew up in the 90s that are so brokenhearted behind this. And it's not just because it's Diddy. It is an era that people grew up on and they feel as if it was
tainted.
It's tainted, and it's just. So I think there's still work that he has to. He's still young.
1,000%.
He still can go in. He still can give a lot back. Yeah. And my job would be, how do you do it? How do you do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. 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 I know. I mean, look, I'm one of those people who it's like, I grew up in the 90s. And so like my formative years, like all I listened to was Bad Boy records. So it's like you throw them on now, and it's like I don't know if I can be listening to this because of
I'll tell you this, Ash. I actually entered into the industry because of Diddy. One of my dreams growing up was to be the publicist for Sean Combs.
Wow.
So that's all I thought about.
Wow.
That's all I went. And so when I told you I went through that crossroads, when I was in corporate, I was looking at myself buttoned up and I was like, but I want to be a bad girl, right?
Yeah.
And I want to really experience my dream, the thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to be that person for Sean Combs. And so I started down this path of and that was my goal. So when I tell you, when I saw this, I was so hurt.
Wow.
So broken because it was like a dream shattered before your face, right? But who's to say that someone like a Sean Combs at this point, could I serve more of a purpose if I'm helping him redevelop, tell a story over again, make right what was wrong? So maybe that's the angle.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the whole story.
And it's funny because I think people forget, like let's say like a Malcolm X. Like Malcolm X was Detroit Red at one point. You know, and I think that we live in a society that is quick to cancel.
That's right.
And so, they look at it and they're like, yeah, he's done. But to your point, I mean, he's still a young man, still has an opportunity like this. I don't believe God makes mistakes, right? This could be God using him, right? And using him in a way to, because I mean, when I look at it, right, you go so far, you get like you're at the top, and to be taken down, if you will, from the top. Now, that's I don't know. To me, that's a better story, right? Where like if now you've made all of these mistakes, you've been held accountable for those mistakes publicly, right? The embarrassment, whatever he did, whatever the embarrassment, you've been held for it publicly. The world is paying attention, and now to be able to come home and really, redeem yourself and use your life now in a positive way.
Mhm.
I think that would be a magnificent comeback story, if you
Mhm.
will, and not a comeback from a perspective of like, all right, now we're going to let's see if you can make $1 billion again, but really a comeback from a humanity perspective,
Mhm.
from a perspective of, because I do think he's a brilliant man, right?
Mhm.
And can you use that brilliance in a way that can uplift our community?
Yeah, most definitely. And you had to ask yourself too, Ash, if everybody were to pull back the layers of themselves, is there something that if it was known to the public, is everybody 100%?
Yeah.
Now, I think the other thing with Diddy too, that's a perfect example of what we talked about earlier. When you obtain so much money, you become bored, and if you're not using the money to serve, you're just running and looking for the next high, the next thing, and you get yourself in trouble.
Yeah.
You get yourself in a lot of trouble. I mean, I think a lot of times when people judge, the question would be, who would they be if they were a billionaire like Diddy?
Yeah.
Would you be the same person?
Yeah.
Would you make those same decisions, or would you make different decisions?
Yeah.
You would know, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really big on again, second chances. Um and being able to navigate that.
Yeah. No, I love that.
Now he would have to want to be a changed man. I could not, just for clarity, I don't support physical violence of any means at all. But again, he was not tried for domestic violence. That was not what his charges were.
Right. If we were to go back and talk to 18-year-old Ebony, what advice are you giving her?
I would tell her it's going to be okay. Don't be so serious. I think I lost my 20s and the earlier part of my 30s being so serious, Ash. I was on a drive for corporate success. And I was so very serious from 21 years old on up. And so when I hear some of the young folks today talk about, oh, I'm at the club to 2:00 in the morning, and I just hear, and I went to India and Bali for 3 months, and I was a bartender for 2 months, and I lived here, and I did that, and da 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 da. I didn't experience. I came out. I was so uber focused that I think that some of my better years went past me as a blur. I don't remember them. And now I'm looking back over life, and I'm like, wow. Because, we're only here for a minute.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so I would say don't be so serious. And enjoy your life.
Yeah. Love that. Final question. Any, wisdom, anything that you want to leave, or anything I didn't ask you that you wish I would have asked?
Oh, wow. You asked me everything. Even you asked me about Diddy. I'm glad you asked me, because that's a conversation we always have in the office. So I think the biggest thing is everybody is not made to be an entrepreneur. It is okay to be a Robin to a Batman, right? It is okay to operate at your pace. It is okay not to have 1 million followers. It is okay to be 55 years old and just starting. It is okay. Stop comparing yourself to everything you see on social media, because most of that is a facade, and just do what's good for you. And that would be the wisdom I would say. Find out what makes you tick and do that.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to find you, if they wanted to connect with you, where can they find you?
You can find me on my website at www.epimediagroup.com. You can also find me on Instagram. Our Instagram page is EPI Media Group, or my personal page is The Ebony Porter Ike. You can also call our office at 770-635-8170.
All right, y'all. We are closing out the vault. Another powerful episode. Thank you so much. I appreciate all you do.
Thank you.
It's great again to have you on, because I know the power of public relations, but I want my insiders to know, how powerful it is. And again, if you want to get to that next level, you're going to have to add all of the powerful tools to get you there. So,
Yep.
all right, y'all, listen, I need y'all to like, share, tell your friend to tell a friend. This is a powerful episode. Make sure y'all tap in, y'all tune in. Follow us on all social media platforms at Inside the Vault. Visit our website, insidethevaultshow.com. Also, make sure you join the Abundance Community. Go to theabundancecommunity.com. I am Ash Cash. Make sure you visit me, iamashcash.com. Follow me on all social media platforms at I am Ash Cash. I will see you next time, same place, but guess what? In God's will. All right, y'all. Peace.